taste of my particular writer's life and where you get the truth. Subscribe if you haven't already. Punch the like button, like Tom Schreck punches people, and tap the bell for notifications so that you don't miss out on one single exciting video. And don't forget to go to the store, www.vinzandri.com, vinzandri.com, vinzandri.com, for all your thriller needs. And don't forget to pick up my course. Well, it's not a course. It's a lecture series on how to become a writer. I don't teach you how to write. I just teach you how to become a writer so that, so that you're cool and you get all the girls or you get all the guys too. Like my guest does. No, my guest is a happily married man. His love life isn't nearly as fucked up as mine. Anyway, I'd like to introduce the great Tom Schreck in this corner. Let me see. We got about 5'11", 195 pounds, with about 20 KOs to his credit, one loss to Mike Tyson back in '86. Tom is, all seriousness, Tom is the author of the uber best-selling, I think, Duffy Dombrowski series, and a bunch of other books. He's also a freelance journalist. He has actually a real writing job as well with a school, and he's a professional boxing judge, which means you might see him on ESPN on judging a fight at Madison Square Garden. Like, who does this? Who lives this kind of life? But this is the kind of guest I like. The guy who really just does a whole bunch of stuff, and also finds like a couple hours a day to just write 2,000 or 3,000 words on his book. So, Tom, how are you, buddy?
Well, I'm just trying to think how to follow that introduction. I'm not sure exactly how to respond, but I think I'm doing great.
Good. I'm so glad. All right, so I got a question for you right off the bat. Don't waver now.
Bring it.
Tyson in his prime versus Ali in his prime. Who wins by a knockout? Come on.
Ali wins. Ali wins, but not by knockout. Ali wins by running and shucking and jiving and dancing around him.
And are you basing that on like the Ali?
Ali.
Who was the other guy?
It would be
the
hard.
Philadelphia guy.
It would be hard for Tyson to get to Ali in his prime because Ali was such a great mover. So right. What I would guess is that Tyson would do his thing and he would try to work his way in, and Ali would punish him with jabs on the way in, and then after a while Mike would swell up, and then Ali would stop him. But that's my guess. You're holding a gun to my head and asking me, so I'm trying to be definitive. But Iron Mike in his prime, boy, if he caught Ali on the chin, Ali not going to take that.
What about Frazier Tyson? Both similar builds, both about the same size.
I think Tyson's was bigger and stronger, and probably would have taken Frazier out. George Foreman took Frazier out real easy.
Yes.
And I think I like Mike in that fight.
Frazier went flying in that one, didn't he?
That's the one where he gets knocked down 5 times, and Howard Cosell keeps saying, "Down goes
Frazier." Yeah. That's awesome. All right, one more. Tyson versus the Italian guy from the 50s, Rocky Marciano.
Tyson. Rocky Marciano never lost, but he also didn't fight a top heavyweight in their prime. So he beat Walcott, he beat Joe Louis, he beat Ezra Charles. All of them were on the downslide. And so Marciano was great, always found a way to win, and you can only fight who's in your time period. You can't go back in time. But he stopped before Floyd Patterson. He certainly stopped wisely before Sonny Liston. And I think both of those guys would have beat him.
I got into an elevator with Joe Frazier once,
Mhm.
probably about 30 years ago.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Hey, champ," and he was very nice, and like, I'm like, what, 5'6", 5'7", and he wasn't,
No,
you know,
he wasn't real big. They probably listed him at 5'11". He might have been 5'9", and
yeah, that's what I figured.
he was blind in one eye, and he memorized the eye charts to pass the commission test to fight.
I did
So
not know that.
in the third fight with Ali, when his eye is shut, he was functionally blind because he couldn't see out of the other eye. And
Oh, no
that's when
kidding.
his corner man stopped it. Eddie Futch stopped it, and I think Frazier, didn't talk to Eddie Futch for a long time, but
Wow.
he said, "That's it. I'm shutting it down."
Yeah, you got to shut that down.
Yeah, yeah.
Which Rocky film do you think is the most realistic?
Number one.
Yeah.
In fact, that there's a lot going on Facebook now. Your favorite, the top 10 movies, and Rocky, I think for me comes in like number 4. I thought that was a really good film,
That's right. You did put that up. Yeah, I
and
saw that.
they portray boxing reasonably accurate in there. The opening scene where the club fights are always these,
Yeah.
uh, unregulated mayhem violence that
Right.
it just doesn't happen.
Right.
Not
Right.
not in New York, anyways.
Right.
So I thought the plot, the idea, the guy's goal, his mission is just to go the distance.
Right.
That's a great message.
Right. And you got put on Skid Row.
Put my Nick, where's my locker? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He said it's on Skid Row. Hey, big fella, we'll be answering questions later. Everybody was chiming in. Tom and I met. Tom and I come from the same community. We're from the Albany area, and I had been hearing about Tom when I was in a band called the Blisters. The guitarist kept saying, like, I'm friends with this guy, Tom Schreck. You should read his stuff and all this stuff. And I had actually, at that point, I'm going back to like 2008, 2009. Those were like my wilderness years. It was after having scored that big deal with Delacorte and all that, and I was on top of the world, and then I was suddenly like in the shitter. I just
the writer's arc, isn't it?
It is. Which I wasn't aware of at the time. I just like completely shut down, and this was a period where I was like just obsessively rewriting and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting the same novel until I took the tarnish right off of it. But anyway, Tom and I didn't meet until Thomas and Mercer gave us good contracts, and we met on the rooftop of a hotel in
Inc. 48.
Yes, in New York City. And I'll never forget it because this was after Blake Crouch told me, he's like, Tom Schreck, he's good people, man. He is good people. Flattered. And I believed him. And I'll never forget, you were a little bit late getting there. You had just showered and whatever, and you were like kind of like doing this. And I'm like, what's wrong? And you're like, I just got hit so hard in the boxing ring. I think you were fighting at like Gramercy Park or something like that. And you're like,
the Church Street gym. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're like, I just got. Go ahead.
When I go to New York, I'd like to work in a workout at. I mean, New York has. Apologies to Philadelphia, some of the best boxing gyms in the world, and and the best trainers. And you can go into most gyms, whether it's a businessman's gym or a real fighter's gym, or a lot of gyms are kind of amalgamations of that. And you can ask, a trainer to do some sparring with you, and they'll tailor it to your level. I'm not trying to say I'm, some sort of badass. I'm an old man for one thing, and
if he hit you that hard.
Well, I get in with a young guy, and he was, the thing is with these guys who are really good, even when they think they're hitting you light, sometimes they hit you, and you're, when you're, a softy like me, and then you wind up rocking back and forth at a cocktail party. So that's what happened that day.
Right. A mutual friend of ours, Sweeney, a buddy of mine, you don't know, this guy, Greg Fox. He kept begging Sweeney, let's spar. Let's spar. And he thought he could probably kind of take Sweeney because Greg's about 6'1",
Yeah.
6'2", about 190 pounds. And he's got the length. You know, his arms are as long as my legs, my short legs. And Sweeney hit him. And he broke his eye socket. So he ended up in the emergency room. Like Sweeney let him get a few in, you know, he was just rope-a-doping him a little bit. And then it was like boom, you know, and like
you don't play boxing, and if you're a tough guy, you're the toughest guy in the bar, and you like Rick Sweeney you're talking about as a former pro fighter.
Right.
You can I've been in the ring with Rick and he's tenacious, and the thing is with these guys who made their living fighting, there's a young guy who I pay as a trainer, and he spars with me, and we kind of have this deal. I want to spar and I want it to be reasonably real, but if I'm open, and don't ruin my week with a big shot, right?
Yeah.
And Zach had like 11 pro fights, 9 pro fights, pretty good regional fighter.
Yeah.
And I'll hit him with a really good uppercut. And I'll be so proud of myself. And he'll be equally as proud and smile and say, nice shot. And he's not taunting me. He's literally thrilled for me. And I'm thinking, could you at least do me the
fall down
courtesy of showing some discomfort? And the thing is, what people don't realize, he says, I kind of like getting hit, you know, and I have like 30 pounds on him, and I'll hit him with my best shot straight on the head, and I'll feel it all through my arm, and he'll, wow, nice shot. And you're thinking, so, you know, if you wanted to harm me, do bodily damage to me,
right?
And I hit him with my best shot, you know, those guys, I had a friend, good amateur fighter, who was he was like a retail security guy.
Right.
He was working at Ames, and he caught a guy shoplifting. And the guy turned around and punched him in the face. And my friend just took the shot and went, what, are you kidding me? and he arrested him. And that's what he said. He took the shot and went, what, are you kidding me? So, they're different dudes, man. They're different dudes. I mean, I have a black belt in karate, and I won some karate tournaments, and I've spent a lot of years in the boxing ring. And I know enough mouth shut, stay away from guys who are real fighters. And the confidence I have is that if somebody hit me,
right,
you know, I've been hit. I know what it feels like, and I don't think I'd run away and cry, unless it was the right guy who hit me, and then I become unconscious like anybody else. But I think the combat stuff, you learn as much from taking punishment as you do from giving it.
Right. Sure. I played 8 years of football, so I know that much.
Sure.
But I got sucker punched in Italy, which you know about, and I was out for like 30 seconds or something like that. And when I came to, I'm like, he's standing there, like, get up and hit it, and I just couldn't. Yeah. I was just like, I was so stunned, and he just ran out, you know, like, and so Gone with the Wind. But you know, today, you know how often I relive that whole thing in my mind. Like, if only I had done this or that, but you can't. Just like Tyson says, like, you know, all your plans go out the window, or when you get punched in the mouth or whatever that.
Yeah, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
That was his response to an opponent had a strategy. You know. Right.
That's right. It was going to be a strategy. Was going to beat him. I'll finish this segment with this, but I actually saw the Bayonne Bleeder when I was a little boy at Chuck Webner at the Starlight Theater. Now he was the basis for Rocky, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. Well, the story goes, so Chuck Webner was a tough, better than club fighter out of New Jersey. He fought Sonny Liston, and then later on fought Ali. And in the first or second round, he stepped on Ali's foot and hit him at the same time, and Ali went down, and they counted it a knockdown. So and he lasted. He went the distance,
right,
with Ali. However, he fouled all through the fight and held on. It wasn't quite the Apollo Creed, Rocky Balboa fight, but he's a tough son of a bitch, and there's no questioning that. Yeah, I
Yes.
think he sued Stallone. I think they settled. I think he got something for his story.
I think I did hear that. I think I did hear that.
Yeah.
Amazing, just amazing. So yeah, so we met. We had Tom. We were one of the lucky. We had this class of people
Mm.
that were accepted by Thomas and Mercer based on our. Well, I had a small publisher, and I think you were an independent publisher, and based on our performances there, Thomas and Mercer took us on. And
I was with Midnight Inc. and then I was with Echelon,
okay,
and then yeah, and then Thomas and Mercer liked my stuff, and my first book with them went to #1 in hardcore mysteries, and my second one went to #9, and then they dropped me.
yeah. I was just gonna ask you, like, how was you? I mean, it's been long enough, and everybody we worked with is gone.
Yeah.
Like, what's your overall thoughts about that? What,
You know,
if you had to sum up your experience,
well,
with them,
I
with an
loved
Amazon publisher?
I loved it in that you have the entire Amazon marketing engine behind you.
Right.
Made my book the deal of the day,
Right.
July 2nd, and July 3rd I went to #1, and I was the
Right.
number 14th ranked mystery writer on all of Amazon for
Right.
36 hours.
Right.
And you how can you beat that? You can BookBub and everything you can buy. You can't
Right.
beat that.
Right.
They made the books look cool.
Yeah.
I think I like my present covers better. They
Yeah.
supported you, and then their model changed. I came on board with you, with Blake, with Marcus Saki, Joe Conrad.
Right.
Those guys were selling 250,000 copies. And I
Yep.
think what they did is they signed all of us, and then if you're going to make $1 million first, you can stay aboard, and if not, so I think they kind of changed their model. I don't
Yeah.
have any hard feelings. They gave me
Yeah.
my rights back
Yeah.
easy, where
Yeah.
some of these rinky dink publishers, I had to fight for years. They
Oh,
weren't
sure.
doing anything. I mean, what books are in your warehouse? What do you care if I
Right.
get the TV rights back?
Yep.
So,
I mean, I had the same type of experience. I mean, a couple of #1s, and in 2013, September of 2013, it was when we had BoucherCon in Albany.
yeah.
I think they were like, okay, Vince has had enough books, and we're going to sort of move on from him a little bit. That very same month, The Remains outsold all of Thomas and Mercer,
Hmm.
and went to #1 the whole bit and stayed there for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And based on that, they gave me more contracts. But this was around the time everybody was leaving.
Mm.
And you're right, the model was changing, because it was like, I mean, even though I pulled in all those books just like you did,
Yeah.
or in all those sales, they were kind of like changing it wasn't quite the marketing that they had been doing before, and all that.
And
it ended,
different crew of people too, right? It wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the Andy Bartlett and some of the other guys, and everybody was nice. But
yeah,
by the end, I didn't know wasn't the folks who brought me in. So
right. I think in the end, it was very good publishing, because, like you said, they had the power. They had that powerful marketing, but it wasn't real either.
Mhm.
Without them, this is more. We're now living more in the reality of
Yes.
of normalized book sales for guys
Mhm.
like you and me, and it's. But you're right; they've been really good about giving the rights back.
Mhm.
But my final 2 books with them, one of them, I get, like we're down to like the last couple $100 or something like that.
Yep.
But one of them just went nowhere, and I wanted them to republish it even,
Mhm.
and because like the development editor screwed it up, in my opinion, and the acquiring editor left before the book came out, so it was orphaned,
Mm.
and which always spells doom for a book.
Yeah.
They will not give me the rights back to those 2 books, which I was surprised about.
Tough to figure.
Tough to figure. And just like you were saying about some of the other rinky-dink publishers, I'm trying to get the rights back to two other books from another publisher whom you know.
Mhm.
And I just you know, a small $6,000 deal, right?
Mhm.
For 2 books, which is just stupid.
Mhm.
But just when you're about to earn out, they, you know, we sell what 85% of our sales come from ebooks.
Mhm.
They price the ebook at like $1.49, so that I'm only earning like 2 cents a sale. So I lay it out. Or rather, I lay the owner out in an email with my agent.
Mhm.
You know, F bombs, the whole bit, and then I block them.
Hmm.
And so Chip's like, my agent, he's like, why did you do that? You know, why did you go and do that? You know, because I'm like, first of all, I'm never working with him again, and I want my rights back, and I don't care if you want to sell to them again. That doesn't matter to me, right? And so this past weekend, I get like $1.99 is placed into my account from YouTube money. Someone wants to buy one of their books directly from my website. And the guy makes up a fake name, thinking I'm going to fall for this. But below it is his actual email. He doesn't realize that YouTube is going to show the actual email. And it's the marketing manager for the publisher.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like, I can't sell you a book directly from this publisher. It would go against the contract. Can I offer you anything else? You know, what else would you like to have? Never respond. So I'm like, I'm keeping your fucking $1.99.
You got to take the little victories.
You got to take the little victories. I know I'm not going to get a check from them this month, so I'll take the cup of coffee. So Tom, tell me about your what's your like schedule like every day, man? Because I know you get in the workout, you get in, you know, like I said, you're a journalist, you're writing fiction, you got to get some marketing in eventually. And
what I would start off by saying, first of all, I'm a non-perfectionist. I don't belabor myself with doing everything, and checking things over a million times, and my attention to detail isn't great. And I've also kind of learned, if you writers who talk about, the pain of writing a novel and the blood forming on their fork. Come on, we're making shit up. It's playtime.
Yeah, it's playtime.
And if I have a YouTube series called The 30-Minute Novelist, and it's a little bit of a misnomer, but if you really write for 30 minutes, you sit down and you write. In 3 months, you got a mystery. You got a 300-page, 250-page novel. And what I've learned is, you write when you don't feel like writing. You write every day. You got a headache, you write. Or maybe not. Maybe you take a day off, but you start back the next day and you keep at it. And there's also like the whole idea of like goals and stuff. Everybody thinks things go this way. Well, they don't. They go this way. And I follow you, and one day you write 80,000 words in a half an hour or something, and then the next day you're in Italy, and then it's 5,000. So, but if you keep going, stuff happens. So schedule. So right now, my mom's 100 years old, so I take care of my mom a good portion of the day. Yeah, because I'm an all American guy. But then I got a day job. You go to the day job, and then I teach one class at a local college in counseling.
It's got to be like the Matrix. There's like 6 Tom Schrecks.
Well,
and you just keep replicating.
What I don't have is I don't have kids. Right? I don't have kids. I'm married. I don't play golf. I don't have a hobby that takes 9 hours out of the day. I go to the gym, and at gym, you spar 4 rounds, and you're soaked in sweat and exhausted, and that's 16 minutes of work. So I have some efficiencies. I drink. When I get to the end of the day.
I thought you were getting help for that.
Yeah.
We weren't supposed to talk about that. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
Yeah. But like it's a matter of and like the judging boxing, I do that on a good year 12 times a year, so that's a weekend. But it's not like if I refereed basketball, that would be twice a week all over the Northeast.
Right.
That would be a life, so I don't know. I mean, I kind of I kind of push back when people, people say, geez, how do you do all this? And I don't know. I'm not changing transmissions. I'm not moving the barbells up to the attic every day. I kind of keep it steady, and I'm passionate about a few things. At the same time, I've been trying to play the guitar for 40 years, and I suck, and I still can't make an F chord right, and so and I've been losing. This is a Brian Regan joke. I set out to lose 10 pounds at the first of the year, and I'm happy to report I only got 15 more to go. The whole achievement thing. For a while I was doing, while I was getting dressed in the morning, I'd listen either to books on how to write better, or I'd listen to like motivational stuff on YouTube. 5-minute things. I knew this is good, and then after a while, I thought these writing books are paralyzing me, for one thing. I mean, if I follow the rules in a writing book, you'll never
stay away from them.
And then I started listening to books I like again, and a lot of the same ones over and over. And I stopped listening to motivational shit because one of the smartest things I saw is that the illusion of that you're going to progress in this way. That's not how life goes. I mean, I got my mom got hospitalized this week, and she's okay. She's going to be okay, but
good.
That rack, and get a lot of, I finished an article Monday, it's funny. So like I had to write an article for a magazine, and it was on a coffee shop in Westchester staffed all by people with disabilities. And I thought, how am I going to get this done? I'm too anxious about mom. And then I said, well, sit down and do, that automatic writing thing where you just write. And I wrote, and I thought, well, I'll read it tomorrow because it's going to be all garbage. And I read it, and it's as good as writing as I do. I mean, it was fine. And all that anxiety, and I think, it took 45 minutes one day and a half an hour the next day. But I've also learned, you learn efficiencies. I learned how to interview people, and I learned who to pick to interview. And I've learned, all right, I need these kind of quotes. So I'm going to ask these 3 questions, and I'm going to say goodbye because people like to be on the phone for an hour and a half.
Right.
I'm not, I'm not writing a 700-page documentary. I'm writing a 1,200-word story about a coffee shop. So
right.
I think I've gotten reasonably good at some efficiencies. But, so my schedule will be over to see mom, write while mom's asleep, go to the day job. If I can skip out a couple of days at the day job and go to the gym, come back, go home, walk the dogs, not play the guitar well, and on Wednesdays go teach.
And listen to your Elvis records.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and listen
Tom is on top of everything. Tom is a Elvis Presley aficionado, and whenever I'm teaming Dick Moonlight PI up with Fat Elvis, all I do is think of Tom.
Well, thank you.
And
thank you very much. I've read Fat Elvis's descriptions. I still think we should do a joint short story.
We have to
because Elvis can go missing or something, and
right.
Help find him.
Much like Tom says, I consider this fun, the writing process fun, and one clean draft off to the copy editor, and that's it. And so I guess that means I'm a pantser. I mean, I don't know. I don't like these terms. Are you, but I think it's just that we're experienced at this point.
So I've read and listened to a lot of the books on outlining, and swore I was going to learn to be the greatest outliner in the world, and the books would be efficient. And you get to a point, you kind of, I don't know what happens. So what do? You not write the book? And then while you're writing the book, you throw away half the outline anyway. So I like to have, I heard somebody say when you have like 4 guideposts, if it's a 250-page book, something has to happen on page 50, something has to happen on page 100 or thereabouts. Something's got to twist again at 150, and then you got to have the car chase at the end, and bad guys killed. I mean, isn't that what we write?
I mean, I think by the time you've written as many words as you and I have, like your creative brain just knows the story arc already. Like it just sort of, and you just become a conduit. Like you're just, You know, I don't even know what I wrote this morning. And like, I wrote that this morning. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Well,
When I walk the dogs in the morning, I listen to Robert B. Parker, um, Travis McGee books, John D. McDonald,
love them all.
Ed Gorman, a couple other. And what I've started to learn, I was thinking, how do I get the character from point A to point B? And I realized they go talk to somebody.
Right.
Spencer goes talk to now the guy you talk to is a interesting character in an interesting part of town, and he does weird things or something. That's all they do. They go to talk to this guy, and then they talk to that guy, and maybe they get chased while they're doing it. But
right,
you got to gather information. And if you listen to these books, it's like every chapter has to end on a crisis and a conflict, and you have to. So I don't know. Just write the stuff and see if people like it. If they don't, write another one.
Yeah. That's all it is. Like I read an article on. I spoke about it on my podcast yesterday, but I read something about Lawrence Block, and he was just like he also publishes independently and traditionally, which I think is kind of funny because here's a guy who can call like Penguin Random House and say like, I got 3 books, send me $150,000, and they'll be like, absolutely, and we'll have a party at the mysterious bookstore when you're good. But he likes to publish independently, and he says, I'm never going to get rich off one of my books. And whether it's independently published or traditionally published, not one single book is, but all of them combined, selling consistently, month after month after month after month. That's where the money is. And
well,
he was
one of the things I'm
more
trying to model
about
myself after you, Vince, is that you're just your stock. I mean, if you treat this at all like a business, but even if you treat it like a storyteller, the more stories you can get out there for the people who like your stories, and the faster, there's nothing worse than getting to the last book by the guy you really like. You want another one. So I'm looking at shorter books and books you can. That's the other thing with traditional. If we got a big book deal by one of the traditional ones today, when would it come out? 2 years from now?
Right.
And, if you go either independent or kind of semi-independent or with some of the more agile ones, I'll have 4 books out in 6 months this year. And
you can't afford to be with that traditional publisher unless you have another means of an income.
Well, and then one of the things. So I look at books instead of 300 pages long, 200, 180, and 150. And you know what? I send it to my beta readers, and they don't care. They don't care. No, this just was easy. I have a brother, my older brother. His criteria for choosing a book is if it's this thin, and so I'll send it to him, and I was, too short. No, it's perfect. It's great.
And people are changing. Like they're going to go from reading 3-time Schreck chapters to looking at TikTok for a while,
right?
And then come back. And so like the chapters themselves should also be short or whatever. So things are changing that way.
No
but
question.
But the serial readers want more and more product.
Yes.
They're like, okay, we're ready for more. We're ready for more. Yet they don't want to get into that like 90,000 word book where the chapters are like 20 pages long and it feels like they're reading Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
No, they want like potato chips, and I'm happy to give them to them, and I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
Tom, where can everybody buy your terrific books, and where can
As
they
we
find
say,
you?
wherever books are sold, you certainly get them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can get them from Down and Out Books, Trade. What's the independent online one? Trade. I should know, but every place, and if you go to Down and Out Books, they'll list all the outlets you can get it from. So wherever you prefer.
Right. All right. This has been a real treat, buddy. It went by like that.
My treat.
When are we getting a beer?
You tell me when.
All right. I'll privately DM you. And Big Philly, thanks for chiming in. And I hope we answered your question about the Panther thing. And
I love Philadelphia, and I love Joe Frazier.
There you go. Yeah. All right.
See you.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you later.